presented by AT&T UVerse TV. That is a beautiful, warm summer's evening here at Globe Life Park. Rangers coming back after a much-deserved off day. Today they start a 3-game series against the San Diego Padres. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this Friday night of Rangers baseball. Rangers trying to get back on the winning side of things. They're facing San Diego tonight in a battle of veterans on the mound tonight. Ian Kennedy for San Diego, Wandy Rodriguez for the Rangers.
Buzz, each one of these has a little something going for him or against him. In Ian Kennedy's case, he's pitched very well in his last 3 starts. Unfortunately for him, he's 0-3, but his ERA is .265. The Padres have only scored 1 run during his last 3 starts for him. Wandy Rodriguez has been terrific on the road, a 5-0, .233 record, but at home he struggled. He's 0-4, his ERA is over 7. So hopefully the Rangers will get some runs today for Wandy, and he'll pitch better at home than he has been.
Rangers trying to get a lead. They have not had a lead in the last 5 ball games. They have lost all 5. Padres, on the other hand, have lost all 5. So somebody's going to have a 6-game losing streak after tonight. Let's hope it's not the Rangers. We will come back with the starting lineups and the first pitch right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. By Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And the breezy evening, breeze coming out of the south, so it's blowing in toward home plate from right field. Rangers getting ready to go. And before they take the field, let's head down and check in with Emily Jones.
Well, Buzz, it has been a rough go of it lately for Wandy Rodriguez. He will give it another go here at home tonight. And Jeff Bannister admits that this isn't the same Wandy that we've been seeing recently as the one we saw at the beginning of the season.
velocity has been a tick down, and sometimes you get into parts of the season where you go through a little bit of what some people call dead arm stage. I don't know if that's the case for Wandy. It's just he's probably into the middle of where he is, where some of that velocity is not where he would like it to be.
And in talking to Wandy over the last several days about his struggles here at home, he seems completely perplexed as to why he hasn't been able to pitch well here at home. The same could be said for this entire team, but you could see it in his comments after his last start, just how desperately he wants to win and how desperately he wants to win here at home. One final chance here in the first half of the season before the All-Star break, guys.
All right, yeah, good stuff. Nobody wants to win more, I don't think, than Wandy Rodriguez. He's the guy out there that is taking all the lumps, and he would love to get off that losing streak here at home. Well, Tom's going to tell you now about the San Diego lineup that Wandy will face tonight.
Well, Wandy will face the Padre lineup, which has Derek Norris, the catcher, leading off, followed by the first baseman, Yonder Alonso. Matt Kemp is in right field. Justin Upton is the left fielder, batting fourth. Jed Jerko is the second baseman. He'll hit fifth. The DH is Brett Wallace. Third baseman Will Middlebrook is hitting seventh. The shortstop, Clint Barmas, is hitting eighth. And batting ninth, the center fielder, Melvin Upton Jr.
And that lineup facing the 36-year-old left-hander Wandy Rodriguez, 5-4 for the season. He is winless, though, here at home in Globe Life Park. He needs to get back to the basics, commanding the fastball and the breaking ball, both sides of the plate for Wandy, and pitching ahead of the count. Wandy's, by his own admission, been a little bit too careful at times, and as a result, fallen behind in the count. And when your stuff may be just a little bit short, that's the last thing you want to do as a pitcher. So he will try and get back to what he does best. That's throw the fastball on either corner, get that breaking ball over, pitch ahead of the hitters, and make them get themselves out. No, Derek Norris will step in to get things underway here on a beautifully warm Friday evening. Rodriguez with the first pitch of the night, and he fires strike one. Derek Norris, the Padres catcher that came over from the Oakland A's. You remember Norris last year in Oakland. You remember him also tearing up the Rangers in his at-bats as an A. He is now plying his trade down south in San Diego, doing a very good job for the Padres. This is the fourth consecutive game that he started in the leadoff spot. He had never hit leadoff before. But Pat Murphy, the interim manager for the Padres, deciding to try this one.
I think what it shows, Buzz, is they really don't have a leadoff hitter. They tried Matt Kemp for about a week in that role as well. Norris is doing, I agree with what you said about him, pretty much as you would expect him to do. For a leadoff guy, his on-base percentage is not probably as high as you'd like to see. 287.
Well, Norris has always given the Rangers fits. He's a career .303 hitter in 35 games against the Rangers. And in this ballpark, a little bit better at .328.
Well, that might have something to do with it.
Good breaking ball, and that's a good sign. Wandy Rodriguez had a pretty good biter going that time.
Yeah, it seems like the games where Wandy struggled, he hasn't had the excellent command that he should have with his fastball, and his curveballs have hung up a little bit. When he snapped them off like the last one he just threw to Norris, take a look at it right here. He snaps them off like that. He generally has pretty good success.
Yep. A one gone. Here is Yonder Alonso, the first baseman. He takes strike one. Alonso, a .296 average. That's tops on the San Diego club. Couple of home runs, 20 driven in. And he is behind in the count. No balls, 2 strikes. So Wandy getting ahead and doing it quickly, the first 2 hitters.
Well, you heard Jeff Bannister tell Emily that maybe his velocity was down a tick. It's up a tick today. It's been 90 miles an hour on the last 2 fastballs. 89 on that one.
Josh Hamilton having trouble. That ball in the sun.
Boy, it sure was.
Yeah. Josh had a general idea of where it was. He knew it was over to his right. Beyond that, he had no clue.
Yeah, that's one of those soft line drives, not a high fly ball. It gets in the sun. The problem with it It gets in the sun and it just stays in the sun. Josh goes, whew, let that one just fall.
Still no balls, 2 strikes. Wandy back to the plate. Got away with a hanging breaking ball that time to Alonso. That's all right. Some of those do get fouled off, more popped up.
Alonso is the leading hitter at 296 by quite a margin for the Padres. Nice on base percentage too at 384. Having his best season.
Well, the Padres come in at 9 games under 500. They are 10 games out in the National League West, trailing the Dodgers. 4th place for the Padres. Just inside 2-2. On the road this year, San Diego 21-26. Pat Murphy taking over for the taking over in the interim for the Padres. Fly ball left. Hamilton shading his eyes and right there to pull it down. Unfortunately, that was one that was up above the sun, it looked like.
Yeah, that was high enough to where Josh could see it. He kept his glove right between his eyes and the sun and followed it all the way.
Now we'll take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense, brought to you by the New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau. Saw Josh Hamilton in left. Delino Shields back in center, and Shin-Soo Choo is in right. Mitch Moreland back at first. Odor and Andrews up the middle. Adrian Beltre at third. And Carlos Corporan is always catching for Wandy Rodriguez. Now 2 up, 2 away. And Matt Kemp, 242 average. Takes outside for ball 1.
So Josh has the glove up. That's blocking the sun, which allows him to track the ball easily. And it was high enough so it really never was going directly through the sun.
You can see just how tough it is. Even the bill of the cap doesn't provide much shade for the eyes. 1-1 pitch, and Kemp fouls at that. He is down the count now. A ball and 2 strikes. Kemp, a pretty good history against Wandy Rodriguez. He's 6 for 24. And batting mark, as you see, they're a 250 average, 1 home run. Wandy back to him. Still 1-2. Yeah, you're right, Tom. The velocity up as well as we've seen it for the last couple of outings for Wandy tonight. A little more life on the fastball, a little more. And that typically goes along with a little sharper break on the breaking ball.
Yeah, last couple of games he's been sometimes around 86 and 87. And today, for the most part, he's right at 89 and most of the time 90 miles an hour. Probably, and it's only 17 pitches into the game, but probably the first time this year we've seen him throw that many pitches at 90 miles an hour.
He did some work in between starts on the mound here. He said he wasn't comfortable on the mound here at Globe Life Park, and that was part of the reason that his numbers here have been so out of whack. Breaking ball, and Kemp again getting a piece of it.
Great view of home plate from left field. But the fans see down there almost exactly what Josh Hamilton is looking at. The closer you get to the infield, the less you see the sun.
And again out of play. This one to the right.
He's fouling off a lot of pitches, but he's not really having great swings in any of them. It's mostly a defensive approach to foul off some pitches that he's not really having a great job, doing a great job of handling. In this at bat anyway.
Wandy getting ready for his 20th pitch of the first inning. Breaking ball got him swinging. A good first inning for Wandy Rodriguez. A couple of strikeouts and a 1-2-3 frame. After a half inning, the Padres nothing. The Rangers coming up.
Offensively, we'll start with Delino DeShields in center field. Shin-Soo Choo is in right field. Prince Fielder bats third. Adrian Beltre is the cleanup hitter, followed by the left fielder Josh Hamilton. Mitch Moreland is sixth. At first base, Elvis Andrus is the shortstop. Batting eighth is Rougned Odor, and batting ninth is the catcher, Carlos Corporon.
And that Ranger lineup will face the 30-year-old right-hander Ian Kennedy. Kennedy, not a big, tall right-hander. He's about 6 feet tall, goes about 190 pounds, but very stockily built and very good stuff. A hyper-competitive guy. He gets on the mound. He is very much the epitome of a bulldog. Above average stuff, but well above average execution. He really knows how to pitch, and Ranger hitters will try and get him to get that ball up in the strike zone. He will. Another one of those guys that will throw a changeup on any count. He has a dandy one. He also has, as you just saw, that good sinking fastball. Delino DeShields, a .266 hitter, starting things off. Delino, no home runs and 12 driven in this year. This is fourth game back since coming back off the disabled list. 2 balls and a strike.
Ian Kennedy has kind of a right-handed version of Wandy Rodriguez's curveball. It's a big curveball, sharp breaking curveball. Good pitch for him.
And that's outside and low, 3-1. So Delino trying to get aboard to start things off here tonight for the Rangers. Shin-Soo Choo is the next hitter. The 3-1 from Kennedy. Outside, lost it. And that might make headlines there. Ian Kennedy just does not walk people, and he walks the leadoff man to start off this ball game. And we'll take a look at the Padre defense behind Ian Kennedy tonight. Outfield is Upton's everywhere. Justin in left field. He's the all-star for the Padres. Melvin Upton Jr. in center and Matt Kemp in right. Alonso at first. Jerko and Barmas up the middle. Middlebrooks at third, and Derek Norris behind the plate. Now let's see if the Rangers can't get something going offensively. They have not had a steal in 8 consecutive ball games. And Delino's going to change that right now. The throw to second is not in time.
How'd you know he was going to be safe? That was a close play.
Yeah, it was.
Looked like he snuck his hand in there with a head-first dive and wasted no time getting his 14th stolen base.
And our great camera work down there will see that hand get in just in front of the tag.
What a great shot. That was a close play.
Yeah. A good jump and a good throw by Norris. So Rangers get that stolen base. They are off the snide, and now Delino in scoring position for Shin-Soo Choo. High and tight. It gets away from Norris. DeShields going to third, and he will be in without a throw.
Yeah, that one just popped right out of Norris's glove. He had it all the way in the glove and just popped out.
Well, Pat Murphy not particularly thrilled at what he is seeing from his club here in the first. It looked like Norris had his eyes on DeShields instead of on the ball.
It did.
I would imagine that'd be ruled a pass ball. In any event, Delino is at third now with nobody out. And the count of 2 balls and 1 strike. Shin-Soo has driven in some runs lately with sacrifice flies and groundouts, but he is 0 for his last 10 in these situations. Takes the breaking ball down and in. Now it's 2-2. Had the count wrong before. I apologize. Shin-Soo 3 out of 15 on this homestand, and there are the numbers for him with getting that runner at home from third with less than 2 outs. Got him swinging.
Good changeup.
Down and away, and Choo, a strikeout victim. That is out number 1. It will bring up Prince Fielder.
The first time up against Kennedy, if you've seen a lot of fastballs, maybe a curveball, Hitting the changeup is a very difficult proposition. It's a very nice changeup and very nice location with it too.
Ian Kennedy, originally a #1 pick out of the University of Southern California by the New York Yankees back in 2006. And Prince Fielder chopping and foul at home plate. It is 0-1. Prince, the team leader with 51 RBI. 2 for 8 in his career against Ian Kennedy. Kennedy also pitched for Arizona before joining the San Diego Padres in the 2013 season. Working from the stretch. And Prince maybe a little bit over anxious. 0-2. Now we'll take a look at our Ford leaderboard with runners in scoring position this year. 423 the average for Prince Fielder. That is tops in the American League. Jimmy Paredes of the Orioles second. Those two are the only two over 400. No balls, 2 strikes as Kennedy sets. And Prince protecting that outside corner. Padres in that big overshift now with Prince at the plate. There's that excellent changeup again. The only one player on the third base side of second. So DeShields can come down that line as far as he wants to. Low and outside, and that's the danger right there. You let a runner have a 30 or 40 foot lead. The ball doesn't have to skitter away very far for him to have a chance to score. Yeah, exactly.
Because you know he's going to get a split-second jump.
Yeah, you thought about it right there. Theoretically, he could be closer to home plate than the pitcher if that ball gets away. And there's no way that a pitcher's going to beat him to home plate if he gets a run. And that ball fouled back.
Well, Prince doing what we've watched him do all season long with 2 strikes, and that's cut down on his swing and just try to put the ball in play back through the middle. Pick up that run. Ground ball to the infield picks up a run. Fly ball can pick up a run. Might be as shallow in center field as I've ever seen Prince defensed this year.
Yep.
By Melvin Upton, playing it like it's Elvis hitting.
And that's fouled away into the second deck.
In fact, the whole outfield is shallow.
Sure are.
Kemp in right field is shallow. Melvin Upton is extremely shallow in center. And Justin Upton might be a little deeper than all of them in left field.
Now, we don't want to confuse you in case you are thinking about Melvin Upton. Who's he? That's B.J. Upton, used to be. There's a check swing on a breaking ball. Nice job by Prince to lay off that pitch. It's 2-2.
Yeah, his dad was evidently known as Boss Man. And B.J. is Boss Man Jr. He wants to go by his real name.
Yep.
So we'll call him Melvin.
2 balls and 2 strikes. DeShields at third base. 1 out here in the bottom of the first inning.
Look how far those pitches are from the strike zone. Not one pitch is a strike.
And that's pretty far away also. Well, the count has gone full. I would imagine that Kennedy probably not going to give Fielder much else to look at.
No, it looks like one of those at-bats where he's saying, okay, if you'll swing at him, I'm going to pitch to you, but it's almost like he's gone out of his way not to throw a strike. But at the same time, Prince has probably said, I'm picking up that run. I'll expand my zone a little bit because I feel like I can handle that.
3 balls, 2 strikes. And a little pop-up, shallow center. Coming on up to the third baseman, Middlebrooks back there. Tagging at third, coming in to score is Delino DeShields. Middlebrooks caught the pop-up and either thought there were 3 outs or forgot that DeShields was at third.
One of the two. Not sure. Boy, Delino could not wait. As soon as he saw that hesitation, he was gone. take a look at it right here. Delino goes back to tag up. Middlebrooke catches it, puts his head down. Whoops. That's not the catcher running at third base.
Yeah.
That's a guy who might have tagged up and tried to score anyway, even if you came up and threw it. Boy, that is just stealing a run right there.
It's very rare you see a sacrifice pop up to the third baseman, but that's exactly what it was.
Boy, I tell you what, if you're the hitter and you pick up an RBI and no at bat on that, you're saying, this could be my night.
Wow. Prince cleared out a spot for Delino next to him. Said, that's nice going. That got me an RBI and saved me at bat and got us on top for the first time in 6 games.
And if you're Kennedy, you're saying, boy, I've got a man on third base and no outs. I get a strikeout and a pop-up. I'm on my way to pitch right out of this inning. Instead, he ends up giving up a run.
Well, the Rangers have a 1-0 lead here in the first. Adrian Beltre up there with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. And that pitch a little bit low. 2-1 to Adrian. Beltre at .251, 6 home runs, 21 driven in. 2 out of 5 in his time against Ian Kennedy. Foul bat. Boy, that got Derek Norris. Our Phantom Cam showing you that sacrifice pop-up off the bat of Prince Fielder.
He's trying to slap it in play, which is all he did. But that's just another example. If you make contact, anything can happen. Got a chance. Prince is saying, I'm sure he's saying, man, I thought that was a pop up to shortstop.
Yep.
I'm getting upset, and I see you flying home, and I go, whoa, I pick up an RBI on that deal.
Yeah, Beltre drives 1 to center. Upton going back, but he's going to stop well shy of the warning track. And that'll do it. The Rangers, however, get a run without the benefit of a hit. Nobody left, and after 1, it's the Rangers 1, the Padres 0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest Data, strong fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Now, Wandy Rodriguez with a run on the good side of things. Top of the 2nd inning, and Justin Upton takes outside for ball 1. Upton at .259, 14 home runs, 46 driven in. He is the team leader with both home runs and RBI, and he pops this one up in the air, foul territory. Coming down the line, Mitch Moreland calling off toward Brand. There is out number 1. And before Jed Jerko steps in, let's check in with Jim Knox.
I appreciate it, Buzz. The Texas Rangers and the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation has provided nearly $1 million to the Richard Green Scholars Program. Here's one of the scholars talking about the program.
I opened the letter and it says, "Congratulations, you have been selected as one of the 6. There is no word to describe that. To feel that someone believed in you and someone saw that you were worth something and that you have potential of becoming something better. It's an unexpected feeling. I felt excitement. At that point, I started believing in myself, and that was capable of doing something."
So there you go, the Richard Green Scholarship Program. To find out more, log on to TexasRangers.com. Buzz?
All right, Knoxy, thank you. Jed Jerko, the second baseman, up there now. Count of 1 ball and 1 strike. A .230 hitter. And Wandy get him that inside corner. Good fastball again. It's 1-2.
Saw Mayor Green at the luncheon this afternoon, and he is a huge baseball and Ranger fan. He was slightly injured by, remember that ground ball that was hit down the left field line about a month and a half ago? Asked him how he was doing. He said he was fine, a little bit embarrassed. I said, well, he said, I just can't get my hands up as quickly as I used to. And I said, well, that's why those of us that have played baseball duck out of the way of those things for that very reason. And he said, well, I just wanted to get that ball so badly. The people I was with had never had a baseball. So he gave it a great effort, but unfortunately he took one right off the noggin.
Payoff pitch, low and inside. And Jerko draws a 1-out walk. Well, the first base runner for San Diego tonight, 1 on, 1 out. And the DH, Brett Wallace, coming up. Wallace, the former Astro, hitting at an even 200, a couple of RBI. 0 for 3 against Wandy Rodriguez, who was a former teammate. Wandy a check of first, and a fastball right down through there. Wallace, originally a first-round pick by the St. Louis Cardinals out of Arizona State. Wallace played at Arizona State for now interim manager Pat Murphy. Murphy was a 15-year head coach down at Tempe. Took the Sun Devils to the College World Series 4 times. Had a great collegiate career. Decided there was more for him at the professional level. He's now in his 6th year with the Padres organization.
Well, he's still throwing that ball with good velocity, 91 miles an hour on the last 2 fastballs. So he's feeling good tonight. Hopefully that will translate into a solid performance in a home game for him.
Yeah, that's the darndest thing. You hear about guys going on the road away from home and having mounds they don't like, having parks they don't like to pitch in, but very rarely do you hear a guy come to his home park and have a problem that's extended. Wandy decided finally after several home starts and no luck at all that he'd go out here and throw between starts off the game mound and see if he could get comfortable that way, and so far it looks like it's helped. 2-2 is the count to Wallace, and that one's fouled straight down. Wallace called up from AAA El Paso back in the middle of June. He's done well in interleague play. He's hit .291 against the other league. Jed Jerko, the runner at first. Wandy Rodriguez reading the signs from Carlos Corporan. Wallace had one that stayed up for him that time a little bit and just did get a piece of it.
The Padres have fouled off a lot of pitches in the ball game. Only the 6th hitter. Wandy's had to throw 35 pitches. Thrown a good number of strikes. There's also been a good number of foul balls. Several of them with 2 strikes.
when you start saying as a pitcher, will you guys please put the ball in play?
Yeah, I'm trying to let you.
Tired of this stuff. And that pitch just missed the outside corner. 3-2. Manny Gonzalez, the home plate umpire, looked like he wanted to throw that right fist in the air and held himself back. So a full count. Wallace hitting 6th. He'll be followed by the third baseman, Will Middlebrooks. 3-2 pitch. Got him swinging that time. Wandy with his third strikeout of the night. 2 away, and Middlebrooks coming up.
Very well located fastball right at the bottom of the strike zone. Got that swing and a miss.
So Jerko still at first. Middlebrooks steps in, hitting at 220. He has provided some power for the Padres. 9 home runs, 28 driven in, and he takes ball 1. Middlebrooks, you'll remember from his days with the Boston Red Sox. One of the players that the Padres added over the winter to hopefully provide a little extra offense. To center field and kind of stutter stepping out there to Tyler Shields. Takes care of it. That'll do it. The Walker left stranded. We played 1.5 at Globe Life Park. Rangers 1, Padres nothing. West is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. A great evening out here at the ballpark. Nice crowd on hand for this Friday night. Fireworks to follow, and Rangers trying to provide a few fireworks here in the early part of this game. They lead 1-0. Josh Hamilton taking strike 1 as he leads off the second inning. Hamilton, Moreland, and Andrews to face Ian Kennedy. Josh, a .268 average. A couple of home runs, 6 driven in. He has been on base in all but one of the games since he joined the Rangers. Of course, he battled that hamstring issue for 45 days. Takes a strike there. But in 10 of the 12 games, 10 of the 11 starts that he had, he has reached base safely either by a hit or a walk. 1-2 pitch. Into the shift. Second baseman Jerko in shallow right field throws out Hamilton. 1 gone, and we'll remind you that this Sunday, it's July 12th, and the first 15,000 fans get a Michael Young bobblehead, courtesy of Globe Life. It'll be your last chance now to see the Rangers prior to the All-Star break, so don't wait to get your tickets. Just visit TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS if you prefer. Well, Mitch Moreland will step in with the bases empty and 1 away. Mitch hitting at .289, 14 home runs. That is the most on the ball club. He has 44 runs driven in. Mitch 1 for 3 in the few matchups that he's had against Ian Kennedy. And another pretty good size overshift. More and more seeing almost every team shift against virtually every left-handed hitter. Much more so than against right-handed hitters. Mitch back in. And Kennedy rocks into the wide. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Kennedy is not a guy that pitches deep into ball games. He's only pitched more than 6 innings twice. He's had 7 innings twice. Actually, for the season, he averages less than 6 innings per start. A lot of times he'll give you quality innings, but not a lot of them. This year, anyway, over the last 5 years, he's averaged over 200 innings. And go back to 2011, he had an incredible season. He was 21-4. I've forgotten about that.
Yeah.
The 2.88 ERA, that was with Arizona.
Now, he was right there in the discussion for the Cy Young that year.
Yeah.
2-2 to Moreland. And this chop foul. We'll try it again. Well, I guess the promise has always been there. Yankees saw it when they selected him first. Decided to go a different direction and shipped him off to Arizona. And Arizona had a chance to improve themselves. So you sent him over here to San Diego. Shortstop Barmas on the first base side of second. Throws out Mitch. There are 2 gone.
He's been a durable pitcher since 2010. No National League pitcher has started more games than he has. He's among the leaders in innings pitched, strikeouts, wins. He's been a solid pitcher for the last 5 years.
No, 2 ground ball, 2 outs here in the second inning. Elvis Andrus, a .236 hitter, will step to the plate. Elvis, 3 home runs, 28 driven in. And looks at strike 1. Elvis 0 for 3 against Kennedy. One ball and 1 strike. Elvis, like many of the Ranger hitters, in a bit of an offensive downturn. It has been a struggle for the Ranger offense. Elvis hitting just 100 in his last 9 ball games. And that pitch low. Ian Kennedy, a Southern California native from Huntington Beach, California. He pulled the string there and had Elvis out in front. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And as you can tell, he's not afraid to throw that changeup to anybody. A right-handed, left-handed, power hitter, singles hitter, doesn't matter. Call strike 3. He comes back at 92 on the outside corner. Second strikeout for Kennedy. Rangers gone in order. We finished 2. Rangers 1, Padres nothing.
here, and it's Oklahoma State night, and one of the biggest alums of Oklahoma State right here tonight, T. Boone Pickens on hand. You got to throw out the first pitch, and I thought when Chuck said 97 miles an hour, I thought, man, he is fast. That looked pretty interesting. What happened?
You know what happened.
Well, I know exactly what happened, but you told me the reason why you did that was why.
Well, I doubted whether I could put it in there good.
Well, because you're 87 years old.
Yeah.
But it looked good to me.
But, you know, of course, I used to play baseball, not at this level, but I could throw the ball. And a couple of years ago, I was going to throw the first pitch out, and I hadn't thrown a ball in a long time. I couldn't believe what I couldn't do. It surprised the hell out of me. So I said, I'm not going to do that again.
There you go. Well, how about tonight, T. Boone? You got Oklahoma State night and partnering up with the Rangers right here. A lot of, I see, nice colors, orange colors in the stands. What do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, anytime Oklahoma State is recognized like we are tonight by the Rangers, I'll be there.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Well, I hope you guys have a great time. And I know we were talking before we got on camera. You told me you played basketball at Texas A&M. And I was telling you what Barry Switzer once said. He said the worst thing the Aggies ever did was cut you from their basketball team.
Switzer said a lot of things. Yeah, that was and then I transferred to Oklahoma State.
Everything went well there.
It went pretty good.
There we go. Well, T-Boone, good seeing you. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Appreciate it. Good job. Buzz?
All right, Noxie. Thanks going. Oklahoma State night out here at Globe Life Park. Well, it's also Ranger Alumni Weekend and Hall of Fame Induction Weekend. And joining us in the booth now, and the guy that we had a chance to talk with a little bit today at the Hall of Fame luncheon, Charlie Huff. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
A little bunt. This is going to be a problem. Rangers didn't play that very well as Melvin Upton Jr. with his great speed hitting ninth. He laid down a bunt, and he turned a sacrifice into a single. And that puts runners at first and second, and nobody out. Take one quick look at that one.
Wandy doesn't get over quickly enough to catch it and throw it. He's probably the only one that had a chance to make a play on that. He had to field it first, though. Upton with good speed.
But Charlie Huff with us. Charlie, nice of you to come back in for the weekend. It's always a lot of fun. You've been back for several of them now.
Yes.
Good time to come back and see the inductees and catch up with old people. Old
people. You got it right. Yeah.
Old teammates is what I meant to say.
Heard that all day.
Freudian slip. It's apropos for all of us. No, it's great to see you guys get to come back in town and kind of catch up, see what's going on.
Well, you know, it's always fun to come out here at this ballpark now. You know, compared to what we played in years ago, this is like heaven right here. What a beautiful ballpark, great fans, and now a bunch of them too.
Yeah. Charlie, today I mentioned that over a 7-year period, you averaged 252 innings pitched and 16 wins. Have you ever stopped to consider how much money you might make in today's game?
Well, I don't know. You were the boss.
You did the same thing. I was actually feeling guilty that we underpaid you all those years.
Isn't that something? You know, but you know what? When we played, the guys before us were thinking the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
How much are they going to give those guys today?
That's exactly right.
They don't play hard. You know, they don't play. And I think every era of guys thinks we were the best.
Yeah, pretty much.
I tend to think not. I think these guys are great.
But when you look at today's game, we pretty much brag about any pitcher that can throw 200 innings in a season.
Yes.
When you look back, you have to be pretty proud of keeping the bullpen out of the ball games and finishing what you started.
Yep. Well, I think, you know, that's what we were brought up on. You know, and when I got a chance to start here, that's what I expected to do. And I never really pitched like better than I thought I might be able to. And I never pitched longer than I thought I could. I mean, it was just what you were supposed to do. And I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but it was the way we played. And I certainly loved it. Like
sure.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say, what did it mean to you when you left the Dodger organization to come here. It meant a lot for your career, but it also must have been hard to leave a lot of people that you had a great deal of respect for.
Yeah, I had spent my first, 14, 15 years, minor leagues and everything, with the Dodgers, and then to come here. And as I said today, my first day here, getting off the airplane, I think it was 125. I don't know. But I was shocked at how hot it was and how old the ballpark was, because I had played in the minor leagues, in the Texas League, when this was a minor league ballpark.
Wow.
When Arlington Stadium was Turnpike
Stadium. Same thing without the upper deck.
Yes, right. And so they built all that stuff. And you know what? I grew to absolutely love it. And I love the people here. I mean, this is an absolutely great place to play.
We agree.
Yeah. Well, it certainly was fun. When you came over here, the Rangers were just coming down from being pretty good. They were very competitive in the late 70s. Ran through a kind of a tough stretch, but then you got in the very beginning of building the team back up, the organization back up. So you kind of saw both ends of it. You saw them coming down, and then you saw them building to the future.
Right. We were kind of an old, kind of a dead team when I got here. A lot of great players, but they were all kind of getting old. And then we struggled for a few years, and then it started picking up. And of course, the real move was bringing Nolan in here. You know, that made us legitimate when we went in to play any series. When you're going to put the Hall of Famer on the mound, you're a pretty good ball club.
Yeah.
Maybe a double play grounder there. Elvis turns it over. 4-6-3. And that takes care of the Padres. Charlie, can hang around for half a minute?
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever you want.
2.5 in the books. Wandy Rodriguez gets the 2 ball. 1-0 Rangers. Is back a ways, trying to figure out how in the world that ball didn't spin at all and bounced all over the place. And that's exactly what Gino Petralli was trying to find out too, and everybody else had caught Charlie. Look at that thing.
Wow. See, I should have got a raise. Look at that.
Look at that thing.
That is amazing.
Now, I will say this, though, for the contract negotiations, as I remember it, tell me if I'm wrong, we never had a problem with a contract.
Oh, God,
we basically said, what do you want? You were more than fair. And we said, great.
Now, Rougned Odor is going to plug that gap. One hop off the wall. Odor not stopping at second. He is putting the Jets on. And he will be in standing with a 3-bagger.
It always impressed me, Charlie, that your attitude was, I want a fair contract, and I'll be happy with it. You never were the kind of player that wanted to squeeze every last dime out of a contract.
Well, you know what? We were so happy. You know, I had 2 small kids when I came here. I think they were 6 and 2, something right in that range. And it was like, this is too nice. I mean, it's a great place to play. The kids loved it. We bought a little place 2.5 miles from the ballpark.
Yeah.
So we were comfortable here. And to me, that was more important than trying to make more money. I mean, and we ended up with, we had some great guys.
Sure.
And we had a great clubhouse and loved playing here.
Here's the last question about contract. Are you still getting paid by the Rangers?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm still working, but I'm not getting paid.
Okay.
I think that ran out last year.
I think it was last year, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of deferred money.
Corporan gets sawed off. That goes out to second. The ball goes to second. And in to score from third is Rougned Odor. And the Rangers lead it 2-0. Charlie, you have an interesting perspective on this, I know. Tom and I talk about it all the time. The way bats shatter now. They don't just break anymore or
They
check out.
explode.
Yeah.
Yes, it's that wood. And you know what? All these guys played with aluminum bats. And the aluminum bats, they do those real thin handles. So that's all they've ever used. And so when they get a piece of wood, they want a thin handle. Well, if you don't hit it right on the button, they explode.
Yeah.
And we see it a lot. We
You
see
see
it
it in the
more than
minor
ever.
leagues, too?
Oh, my gosh, all over the place. Yeah, because those guys can't hit as good.
They don't hit the good part of the bat that
Yeah.
often.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of dead wood hanging around.
Well, when the accounting department comes to the game, they pretty much go, there goes $100.
Yes.
There goes $100.
Yeah.
The bats cost $100
Yes.
a piece now.
Yeah. Well, what does the ball cost now?
I don't know.
Everything's gone up, and you know what? I think the players today are absolutely terrific. Really do.
Yep.
They're certainly more athletic. More of them are more athletic. And they play the game at a different speed, I think, than we all played it.
Well, some of it is a lot faster.
Yeah.
Some of it is a lot faster. You watch the highlights every night on TV of the defensive plays today.
Right, exactly.
And it is amazing the plays they're making today.
I know.
You know, and I thought we were pretty good. I thought our guys were pretty good defenders, but you see even better today.
Well, if you go back and you watch some of the great plays in baseball history, and I don't want to even say any names because I don't want to say anything bad about those players, but the greatest players back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, the great plays they made, some of those plays wouldn't even make today's highlight.
They wouldn't make the nightly ones.
No.
Not the nightly ones.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, not the plays of the year, just every night.
Yeah, they're bigger, stronger, and spectacular athletes for sure.
Well, for sure is right.
But you know what? Even the best of them still couldn't hit your knuckleball.
You know what? That's one thing that hasn't changed. A good pitch, a well-thrown pitch still works.
Yeah.
It's still hard to hit a baseball right.
Yeah.
Our Kubota power stats. Charlie, here's some numbers that you got to be. We're all impressed with that. Rangers all-time leader in wins, and we'll get back to that in just a second. Complete games, 98 of them, and innings pitched over 2,300, strikeouts 1,400. That is, doing some work.
Yeah.
That is doing some work. Pretty impressive numbers for a guy that picked up a pitch because you got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing that happened in my career was getting hurt my arm.
Yeah.
And got fortunate that a guy said to me, have you ever tried to throw a knuckleball? And I said, show me how, and he did. And I could throw it within a year. I was in the big leagues.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
It's a crazy story, but for some reason, what he showed me fit. I could do it, and I knew it as soon as I tried it. I could do this.
Yeah,
Now,
one
is
of
that
those
same
deals
guy-
that made sense to you.
Yeah,
Made sense to your body.
it made sense. Yeah. Had good fingernails.
Yeah, exactly.
With the success he had teaching you, I still have to think he didn't have wide-ranging success because it's not that easy a pitch to throw.
No, well, he wasn't a knuckleball pitcher. The guy that showed me was not a knuckleball pitcher. I don't think he ever pitched in the big leagues.
Jeez.
I don't even know if he was actually a pitcher. The coach, he was in charge of all our pickoff plays.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Charlie, thanks very much for joining us. We
Thank
sure
you.
appreciate it. It's great to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Great to see you. We'll see you tomorrow at the ceremony, Hall of Fame induction.
That'll be fun.
All right. Rangers lead it 2-0 after 3. All right, Rick, we have Matt Kemp leading off here in the top of the 4th inning. Rangers on top 2-0 now. And Kemp, a 2-hopper down to Adrian Beltre. That is very quickly out number 1. And as you would figure, a quick out like that, we have the doctor of defense here, Mark McLemore.
Hey, guys.
Good to see you. You got the memo about the red shirt. That was good.
I did. We got it today.
Good. Well, Mac, you did much better preparatory work by getting 2 runs and holding the opposition scoreless before you got here.
I did. I went to work a little bit. I was down below a little bit, and we had a little talk as guys were coming through. No, it's not. No,
I believe it.
I like what they're doing. And that Delino DeShields, man, just getting that leadoff guy on, and getting to second base on the first pitch, and he's at third base on the 7th pitch of the ball game. That's exciting. That's what any team needs. They need that leadoff guy to create some havoc.
Yeah, then Odor able to plug that gap and not even think about stopping at second.
I love it. They're coming out being aggressive today. I like that.
Rugnet, as a matter of fact, Rugnet has the only hit for the Rangers, but that's okay.
We'll take it.
And this pitch popped up. Justin Upton out in front of home plate, and Mitch Moreland coming down the line to make the grab. That is twice now that Upton has popped out to Mitch. 2 gone. Next will be Jed Jerko. Wandy Rodriguez, whatever he talked to the mound about, the deal about Wandy throwing between starts off this mound because he wasn't comfortable. Maybe he got down there and talked to the mound and said, look, we need to get to know each other a little bit better than what's going on now.
Well, that was Pudge's suggestion with his last start. Hey, maybe you get down there and tell him, nice mound, and, do this for me and do that. And it looks like it's working so far.
I think the mound looked up at him and said, start throwing the ball a little bit better, and you'll like the mound a little bit more.
How about getting that curveball down?
Yeah, exactly.
Ruben Sierra joining Pudge down there in the front row.
2 of the greatest Rangers, most exciting Rangers sitting side by side.
And Ambassador Tom Schieffer
with wife Suzanne,
the architect of this ballpark. Chopper foul outside third. A lot of Ranger alumni and Hall of Fame members in attendance. This, of course, the alumni weekend and Hall of Fame inductions. The inductions will be tomorrow night prior to the ball game. Ruben Sierra inducted a couple of years ago, and Pudge Rodriguez also. And there's a backdoor hook that is called strike 3. Wandy Rodriguez with 4 strikeouts now sends the Padres down in order after 3.5. The Rangers 2 and the Padres nothing. Tell you about tomorrow's pitching matchup. Don't forget, it's an 8 o'clock start now tomorrow night on Fox Sports Southwest. James Shields Brings that 7-3 record in for the Padres. Colby Lewis at 8-4. Trying to get over that last tough outing against the Angels. That's not anything new. Colby's had trouble with the Angels, and he seems to be able to get over it okay. That 8-4 record would tell you that. Good matchup of veteran right-handers tomorrow. There's Colby. Keeping an eye on things. Had an outstandingly consistent year, Colby Lewis. Prince Fielder had a sacrifice pop-up his first time. You ever seen anything like that, Matt? A sacrifice and a pop-up to third baseman that was in fair territory.
Yeah, you know, they're surprisingly, guys have, you know, they go out and they'll catch the ball and they'll forget that there's a runner on third base. It's unreal.
You think that's what happened to him?
Yeah.
Sure looked like it.
Yeah, you know, I think he thought.
Fielder, a drive to right. It is on its way. Goodbye.
Warming up for the home run derby.
Home run number 14 from Fielder, his third career home run against Kennedy. And the Rangers lead at 3-0. That wasn't a pop-up to third. Maybe the third roll in the upper deck. Goodness gracious.
All of that one.
Now Adrian Beltre. As soon as he touched that one off, it was, yep, I can trot. And Beltre drives one to left. Into the corner and deep. Goodbye. Back to back. Fielder and Beltre. Rangers going back to back for the fourth time this year. And boy, that is something they needed. Get the big guys in the middle hot.
Great to see these two guys swinging the bat, going back to back. Beltre gets a fastball inside from Kennedy. And this was a veteran move by Beltre. In his first at bat, Kennedy threw him a couple of fastballs on the inside part of the plate. And Beltre had some trouble getting around on it, so Kennedy thought. But I've seen, you know, there are some guys that can do that. Make a pitcher think that, hey, he can't get to a certain pitch and he's having trouble with it. Kennedy came in there with that fastball his next at bat. And that's a run for you.
He was ready for that one.
Adrian's first home run in his last 22 ball games. And that got out of here in no time. And Kennedy taking the toss from Alonso. And Hamilton retired one away. Prince Fielder first. Followed by Beltre, the third time this year that Fielder and Beltre have gone back to back. Those balls didn't have a whole lot of hang time.
No.
Good to see those two guys doing that. The Rangers have sorely missed that, whether because of injury or just the happenstance. Get those two guys hot at the same time in the middle of the order. They can do an awful lot of damage. Now Mitch Moreland. Moreland had a ground ball that the shortstop Barmas took care of. Barmas in this overshift playing a normal second base position. He is the one just to the right of second base over there. And Mitch takes a strike. It's 1-1. Well, Fielder and Beltre going yard. Prince with his 14th. Adrian with his 7th. 2-1 to Moreland. Rangers now have 92 home runs as a team this year. They came in 7th in the American League. Trying to snap that 8-game home losing streak. 2-2 to Mitch.
They're happy to get a shot at Adrian's head. That's what they're looking forward to.
Well, they haven't had a whole lot to celebrate down there. Not in that home dugout anyway for a while.
No.
Three balls and 2 strikes to Mitch Moreland. Elvis Andrus will follow him in the order. Payoff pitch from Kennedy. Line to center. Upton started in. Now has to go back and make a circus catch out of it. Melvin Upton Jr. as Tom told you, playing a very shallow center field, and he got the.
He's telling you what happened.
Yeah, he got the read on a knuckleball. Yeah, Charlie Up firing that knuckleball at me. 2 gone. Let's go down and check in with Emily Jones.
Well, guys, Prince Fielder talking a little bit about the home run derby today, and asked about his approach, how he handled the new format that they're having with basically as many swings as you can get in 5 minutes. And he said he does have a strategy, but he wasn't willing to share it with everyone. He wants it to be top secret as he heads to Cincinnati.
Did it have anything to do with hitting about 4 or 5 before he left for Cincinnati?
It works for me. Yes, let's go with that.
Okay.
Let's go with
All
that.
right. Well, he's on his way in that case. Elvis called out on strikes his first time up there. And that pitch on the inside corner, a ball and a strike. Rangers 4 runs on 3 hits. Had 2 home runs and a triple. And Elvis shoots one down the line, but hooking into the seats. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, the home run derby that Emily was talking about, the setup is 4 pair of head-to-head National and American. Albert Pujols, Prince Fielder, Josh Donaldson, and Manny Machado are the American League contestants. And they will face off in that first round against National League opponents. The winners advance. Chris Bryant is in there, and Todd Frazier from Cincinnati, the hometown favorite. Jock Peterson's in there, the phenom from the Dodgers. 2-2 pitch to right field. That is sinking in a hurry, and it's a fair ball. And it's going for extra bases. Kent gets the ball back in. Elvis with a looping double. Well, the Rangers now just a single away from the cycle.
Something tells me we'll get that single somewhere.
Yeah, I would think so.
Elvis getting the pitch up in the zone and just 2 strikes. Just trying to shoot it somewhere. Gets it a couple of feet inside that line down the right field line. I don't think that felt too good on his hand,
no.
But he'll take it.
Yeah.
He won't be complaining about it too much.
Darren Balsley, the pitching coach for the Padres, out to have a chat with Ian Kennedy. No, Elvis at second, in scoring position now with 2 outs. Rougned Odor, who tripled and scored in the 3rd, is at the plate. Odor on a great run since coming back into the lineup. Brought back the middle of June to the ball club from AAA, hitting .366 since he joined the team on the 15th of June. He has seen his batting average rise 98 points. It was 144. It's now 242. That's a lot of work when you have as many at-bats as Odor had. Our lows never stop improving. A feature tonight talking about Rougned Odor. The first 21 games, or the last 21 games, I'm sorry, .366 with 3 home runs, 14 RBI. First 29 games, not so much. 144 with 1 home run and 9 driven in. Rougned taking a pretty healthy hack of that 2-0 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. Elvis the lead from second. Rougned trying to bring him home. Kennedy with the letter high set. 3-1. Norris flashed the signs out. Kennedy picks one out. 3-1 pitch to Rugnet. That is going to slice out a play down the left side, and the count will be full. The home run men, Prince Fielder and Adrian Beltre, going back-to-back to open this inning up. Center field, Upton over to his left to make the grab. Bat will do it. But Rangers score quickly on the home runs by Prince Fielder first and Adrian Beltre second. They surround Elvis Andrus, and after 4 full innings of play, it's the Rangers 4 and the Padres nothing. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Well, Wandy Rodriguez back to the hill now. He has a 4-0 advantage with which to work, and he's facing Brett Wallace to start things off. Padres tonight with just 2 hits against the Ranger left-hander. Wallace a strikeout, his first time to the plate. Wandy gets strike 1. Or strike 2, excuse me. As we mentioned with the Diamondbacks in town for the last series, the National League team's not really set up with a specified DH type player. They don't have the luxury typically of carrying a guy that is just a DH. So it's usually somebody that's one of their top pinch hitters. And in this case, Brett Wallace has come off the bench pretty successfully since being called up. A lot of people argue that's really a handicap that the National League teams face when they play in American League parks, much more so than the American League teams do in the National League park, and the pitchers have to hit. Don't really have a guy that's used to handling DH chores, so you're playing a man short basically. It was the argument. I don't know if Pat Murphy would agree with that or not.
I would agree with it, Buzz. I think the American League's DH is a guy that can hit. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a DH.
Right.
Whereas when the American League pitchers go to the National League and can't hit, they're the same as the National League pitchers who hit all the time and can't hit. There's not that big a difference, really.
You know, National League teams, they just don't set their club up with a DH, a Prince Fielder type guy. That's just not how it works.
No.
And that pitch in the dirt. Wallace able to lay off it. The count is full. Well, Wallace hitting 6th in the order, trying to get on base here in the 5th inning. He followed by Will Middlebrooks. Rangers are running the 1st, a run in the 3rd, and 2 in the 4th. And call strike 3. Knee-high fastball, and Fred Wallace caught window shopping. That is out number 1. 5 strikeouts for Wandy Rodriguez.
Yeah, Wandy pretty sharp tonight. Good command of a fastball that's generally showing more velocity than over the last few games. Pretty good curveball, mixing it up. Mentioned he'd struggled in his home starts, turning that around so far in this game tonight.
And Middlebrooks, first ball swing, pops it up. This will be in play. And Mitch Moreland near the bag at first, handles that for out number 2.
Must have been a great conversation with the mound.
Yeah, it came to an understanding.
I'll do this for you if you get the curveball down.
Yeah.
I'll do this if you hit that inside corner with the fastball. Yeah. I won't get too rocky and bumpy.
Now Clint Barmas takes strike 1. Yeah, when I heard that, I told Tom this. The first thing that popped into my head is sometimes when you stand on the mound and you're looking in toward home plate, some ballparks look like it's 5 miles from the mound to home plate. It looks like there's no way in the world it's only 60 feet 6 inches to the plate. And other parks, it looks like when you stand out there that you can reach out and touch home plate. And that was what used to, just that optical illusion, I guess is what it is always what got me when I didn't feel, if I looked out there and I could barely see the batter, they were so far away. That's what bothered me. And then I said, there's no way I can throw the ball that far for a strike. Little looper that Rugded's going to take care of, and it's a very quick 1-2-3 inning for Wandy Rodriguez and the Rangers. Well, we're halfway through the ball game tonight. It's the Rangers 4, the Padres nothing. Calendar, the first 15,000 fans that night will receive a Rangers cowboy hat courtesy of Coca-Cola and Walmart. Don't miss out on this must-have headgear. Gotta have this one. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. You're looking good in that stylish cowboy hat. There you go. There's one that's kind of like it. Carlos Corcoran, first ball swinging here in the bottom of the fifth. He skies out to Melvin Upton Jr. in center field. One pitch and one away, and back to the top of the Ranger order. We're talking about Delino DeShields coming up. How about this play back in the first inning?
This is beautiful. Delino DeShields getting back to third base. You see Tony Beasley telling him to get back, and Middlebrooks goes out, and Upton comes in. Upton should have had it, could have had it. He was calling him off, and Middlebrooks didn't understand it. But, you know, in the meantime, Middlebrooks caught the ball, and it looks like he just forgot that DeShields was at third base. And with a heads-up play by DeShields and Tony Beasley, that was the Rangers' first run. But, you know, it just looked like Middlebrooks lost all concentration once Upton ran by him, hollering for the ball. So that was a great way to steal a run.
But as soon as he put his head down, Delino was gone.
That was it. That's all it takes.
Now, Delino, that walk, he got him over to third base. A walk, a stolen base, a pass ball, and turned it into a run on a 190-foot pop-up.
It's called manufacturing a run.
I was going to
there.
say, yeah, and that's not even real good manufacturing. I mean, not using up a whole lot of raw materials for that. And you know, it's kind of set the tone too for the Rangers tonight. That kind of aggressiveness, that kind of, we'll take what we have and make the most of it.
Yeah, I think it woke the team up. You know, it just gets you excited. Number one, I know I was excited. He got the walk, stole second base on the first pitch, got the wild pitch over to third base, and you know that kind of thing gets you excited, especially when you're playing the way that the Rangers have been playing lately.
Yeah, when you need a spark of some type to get you going.
Ruby with the triple. So you got the two young guys getting the job done early, and then the two veterans coming in the middle part of the game getting some action in.
And another walk as Delino eyeballs that 3-2 pitch. He is aboard again. Now before Shin-Soo Choo steps in, let's send it back over to Rick Renner for a Mazda game break. All right, Rick, thank you.
Yeah, big lead over the Angels is down to a game and a half coming into the ball game tonight. Things tightening up.
Astros have lost 3 straight. Angels had their winning streak snapped yesterday. They still won 8 out of 10. And the Rangers trying to right the ship and improve on their third place standing. Shin-Soo Choo has struck out and flied to center. And Kennedy going to go to work on Delino DeShields at first. Delino had a stolen base in that first inning and really setting up a run without a hit for the Rangers. DeShields now 14 stolen bases in 16 attempts. Kennedy going to that slide step and missed high and away for ball 1. Great night out here at Globe Life Park this Friday evening. Comfortable temperatures in the upper 80s. Gentle breeze drifting in from right field over that home run porch, where our RF camera is positioned right now out on the upper home run porch. The Ian Kennedy booing section just came to life. I don't like all the throw to first base. DeShields pretty good lead over there. Delino, I think, has him measured pretty well. And that pitch up for ball 2. A situation like this, Matt, with Choo up there, left-handed hitter, would you give him a strike, or would, if you were Choo, would you give Delino a strike to try and steal second?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what that number 2 hole is made for. You've got a base stealer in front of you. He's on. Yes, in my mind, he gets a strike. Get into scoring position for me. If not me, if I can't get the job done, then I've got 3 and 4 right behind me with a runner in scoring position.
And it becomes kind of a moot point now that Kennedy has fallen behind 3 balls and no strikes. Dale Thayer, the right-hander, loosening pretty quickly in that Padre bullpen. 3-0 pitch. Ball 4. back-to-back walks with 1 out. And now Kennedy has worked himself into a very tight spot as you have Prince Fielder coming up.
You know, I think that at bat right there, that walk to Chu was directly related to DeShields being at first base. Kennedy was so worried about him. He's, you know, did a slide step one time, fastball high in the zone, and then just couldn't find his spot again after that. So I think that concentration that DeShields requires from a pitcher has a lot to do with what they do with that hitter at the plate.
Agreed, 100%.
One thing that the Ranger left-hand hitters won't have to worry about in this series is the fact that San Diego has no left-handers in the bullpen. And generally, if there's 2 or 3 lefties and the starter only goes 4 or 5 innings, you'll see all the lefties and they'll come in to face all the Ranger left-hand hitters. But not in this series. They're only going to see righties.
Well, that's going to do it for Ian Kennedy. After 4 1/3, he departs with 2 runners aboard and just 1 out. Prince Fielder will face Dale Thayer. Pitching change underway here at Globe Life Park. We'll take a timeout. We're back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Night, and that's coming up on Wednesday, August the 5th. Rangers take on the Houston Astros. Visit TexasRangers.com for tickets, or as always, you can call 972-RANGERS. Dale Thayer, the 34-year-old right-hander, now on to face Prince Fielder. Ian Kennedy departs after 4 1/3 innings. And Thayer on now his 31st appearance of the year. Right-hander with that 2-2 record. Basically a fastball slider pitcher. And Prince takes that pitch in the dirt. Norris can't find it. Well, both Delino DeShields and Shin-Soo Choo advance 90 feet. Wild pitch charged to Thayer.
It's a great read by Delino DeShields. You see that sees that ball is down in the dirt, and Norris had no idea where it was, but DeShields saw it right away and recognized that Norris didn't know where it was and took off for third. And even better play on Chu's part by recognizing that and being right on his tail to get to second base.
Well, 2 runners in scoring position for Prince Fielder, who has the highest average in the major leagues with runners in scoring position. 426 coming in. 2 balls and a strike. Skied to left field, not very deep. Justin Upton toward the line, tagging at third, and bluffing a move toward the plate is DeShields. And even with his speed, that throw by Upton would have nailed him by 30 feet or so. Prince, by all rights, 1 out of 2 as far as the sacrifice flies are concerned tonight. Could have very easily been 0 for 2.
He wants that one back.
Well, that would have been a pretty good play if they could have run behind the runner, fire it to third, and tag him out. If you try that play, though, he'd probably go home.
Adrian Beltre almost screwed himself into the ground swinging at that one. Saw a pitch up about eye high, and that's right where Adrian lets go of the bat. He just fires that thing through there. Beltre with his 7th home run last time up. He had driven a few balls in the last several games we've seen him and didn't quite get him out of the ballpark. He finally got one to leave the yard. He drives this one to left field, but that is right at Justin Upton. Well, the Rangers get a couple of walks, but strand 2. We finished 5. Rangers leading 4-0. Mac, thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the ball game on Rangers Live. All right. Well, folks, for every home run that Prince Fielder hits in the Gillette Home Run Derby on Monday, fans will receive $1 off tickets in the lower box and Lexus Club box. And that's up to a $25 cap. So the offer will be available starting at noon on Tuesday for 84 hours in honor of Prince Fielder's number. Visit TexasRangers.com/Prince for all the details. That'll get your interest up a little bit more for the Home Run Derby. Get some cash coming back your way in terms of rebates on tickets. Melvin Upton Jr. leading things off, and it's a towering fly ball to left. Hamilton is back. He is watching this one sail into the seats. Melvin Upton Jr. with his 2nd home run of the year, and it's now a 4-1 Ranger lead.
Well, Upton hasn't done a whole lot recently, but in his career, he has been an excellent defensive player, an excellent base runner, and a guy that has shown power. He definitely shows some power here, getting underneath that inside fastball and launching it out of here.
Well, back to the top of the San Diego order now, and Derek Norris, who is 0 for 2. 0-1 on the foul ball. That thing was hit so high, I wasn't sure it was going to clear, but Josh kept looking where he was.
Once I looked at Josh, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Thinking the same thing.
1 ball, 1 strike. And you don't think of Melvin Upton as a real powerful guy. He's so tall and lanky. And he can get pretty good extension. He can drive the ball.
Yeah.
1-1 pitch to Norris. Now 1-2. Eric Norris with 43 runs driven in as a catcher this year. That's the 3rd most among Major League catchers. And it's the most in the National League. He is providing as much, if not more, than Padres had hoped for when they acquired him from Oakland. Two balls, two strikes. Keone Kela up and loosening in that Ranger bullpen. Top of the 6th inning, Rangers leading 4-1. That was pitch number 85 tonight for Wandy Rodriguez. We mentioned a very comfortable evening. Temperature on the scoreboard out there at 88 degrees right now, but a nice breeze stirring things up here in the ballpark. Inside and low, a full count to Norris. Norris hitting in that leadoff spot. Be followed by the first baseman, Yonder Alonso. Wandy reading the signs, into the wind, the payoff pitch. This one's popped up. Way up there, Beltre threw his hands up, and Elvis didn't get too close. Now, Elvis had his glove up. He was going to try to play that little game that Adrian does, but he was afraid to get too close to Adrian.
Good move. Good move.
A couple of times he's snuck in behind Adrian, and Beltre has smacked him. That just doesn't work quite as well when Elvis doesn't have that down yet.
Now he's still learning. Learning from the master. Adrian will retire someday, and Elvis will be teaching that to the Joey Gallo over at third.
Yeah.
Whoever's playing
Somebody.
over there.
Double-barreled action in that San Diego bullpen. Pitch in tight to Yonder Alonso. Alonso 0 for 2, a fly ball and a double play grounder tonight. And that pitch misses. Well, the 4-pitch walk with 1 out. And now Wandy working himself into a bit of a jam. And Jeff Bannister out very quickly from the Ranger dugout. Apparently he's going to make the move to bring in Keone Kela. So that's going to do it for Wandy after 5 1/3. He will leave with the Rangers leading 4-1, 1 man on and 1 out here in the 6th inning. Well, pitch change underway. Wandy finished for the evening. We'll come back and tell you all about Keone Kela right after this.
The Padres by a score of 4-1, and a big thank you to everyone who came to the Do It for Durrett 80s night last night here at the ballpark. It was a huge success, a fantastic time, I think, was had by all. Some of us embarrassed ourselves quite nicely, and it led to the raising of more than $100,000 for the Do It for Durrett Foundation, which helps families in our area affected by sudden loss. So a huge thank you to those who attended, to those who supported, and especially to the players who spent an off night up here at the ballpark with us, guys.
All right, Naomi, thank you. Great cause and great turnout from what I understand. That's outstanding. Keone Kela dealing to Matt Kemp, and very quickly has an advantage in the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Kela in his 41st ball game. He has been the workhorse of the Ranger bullpen. 5-5 record, ERA of an even 3. League just hitting .262. The last 5 times out, Kela has been unscored upon. It goes back to the 29th of June. 5 consecutive scoreless outings. One ball, 2 strikes. Kemp is 0 for 2. A strikeout and a ground out tonight. Alonso at first. The 1-2 pitch.
Kemp had his big year back in 2011 when he hit .324 with 39 home runs, 126 RBIs, and 40 stolen bases. He missed by 1 home run of being a 40-40 man that year. Haven't been many of those. He's kind of been injured off and on since then. Had a pretty nice comeback year last year, but nothing resembling what he did in 2011.
Yeah, apparently the 40 steals is a thing of the past for him. He doesn't run as well as he used to.
No.
Ground ball off the glove of Beltre, and it caroms away from Elvis. Well, that's going to be an infield single for Kemp. Into second is Alonso. 2 on with 1 out for Justin Upton. And let's check in with Jim Knox.
All right, thank you very much, Bill. Sticking with the Oklahoma State theme, we have a group from Stillwater, Oklahoma, riding the Fox Sport Fan Express in here at the ballpark tonight. This is the youth group from the YMCA, Stillwater YMCA. Derek, you guys had a good bus ride over?
Oh, yes, sir. We enjoyed it. It was first-class operation. We really had a good time on our way here.
Safe travels back. Let's root the Rangers on for victory, right, guys? All right, there we go. Buzz.
A 2 on 1 out after the infield single. Alonso at second, Kemp at first. Justin Upton, who has twice popped out to Mitch Moreland. Kela's first pitch to him. Ball 1. There's that infield single by Matt Kemp. Trust us, folks, it did happen.
He did let go of that ball.
1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. On those 5 outings we were talking about that Keone has been unscored upon, he's only walked 1. In fact, he's only had 12 walks in the entire year, as you saw it. 36 strikeouts. Pretty good ratio, 3-1.
Sure is for a young 21-year-old with a big arm.
Down the right side, that's going to peel off and go back into the seats. 2 balls and a strike. Now, Keone may be only 22, but well, he pitches like a guy that's been in the league for 7 or 8 years. He had a real good idea of what he's doing and pretty much unflappable on the mound. You know that there have to be nerves under that calm exterior. He sure doesn't let on that way. Two balls, 1 strike, the count with 1 out and 2 on. Now 2-2.
2 fastball counts, 2 fastballs at 97 miles an hour. 2 balls that Upton was unable to catch up with, fouled them off.
Keone picked up his 5th win of the year. The last game in Baltimore. Game the Rangers able to cap off a 3-game in 4 win against the Orioles. And again fouled off to the right.
A little bit of a defensive swing at that 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Sam Freeman loosening in that Ranger bullpen. Keone keeps climbing the ladder velocity-wise, and in about 3 more pitches, we ought to see something special.
Yeah, I thought I remember reading about him in the minor leagues, tuning a couple up at 100 miles an hour. Been working in that direction, though. His fastball is, velocity-wise, gotten better as the season's gone on. Actually, the more work he's had, the better he's thrown.
And he made the statement he thought earlier in the year, part of the reason was he was trying to work on command, on control too much. He said, I just wasn't throwing the ball the way I'm capable. Got him swinging. There's that hook.
That's coming back from the 2-0 count against a good, dangerous hitter. And getting a strikeout. Kind of overmatched him in that at bat after the 2-0 count. Saw several 97 or 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, and then had to contend with that hard, down-breaking curveball.
Yep, that is a mismatch. So a very big out number 2. Now Jed Jerko, who is 0 for 1, a walk and a strikeout.
If you're first ball hitting looking for a fastball, that's pretty much what's going to happen when he throws you the curveball. There's no way you're going to look good.
Jerko at 229 now, 3 home runs, 13 driven in. As Yonder Alonso out at second, Matt Kemp at first.
Well, can call a balk on him.
And Keone stopped like he saw or heard somebody call time.
I don't think the umpire granted it. The batter asked for time, but I don't believe the home umpire granted the time. Let's see.
Yeah, you can see Jerko turned back to the home plate umpire, Manny Gonzalez, and they're going to put the runners back.
Maybe someone else called time.
Could have been.
You would think the home plate umpire definitely didn't grant time because he called the block.
Yeah.
But maybe someone else did.
No, 0-1 the count. Now 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, the Rangers catch a break there.
Can another umpire call time like that, or does it have to be the home plate umpire?
I think another umpire can call time, but it not because the player holds his hand up.
Yeah.
I don't think the other umpires could hear him ask for time. Kella back to the plate. Hit pretty well to right field. This playable as Chu is over to his right and makes the catch, and it's kind of a moot point now. Padres do get a run on Melvin Upton Jr.'s home run. They strand a pair. We're going to the bottom of the 6th. It's now a 4-1 Ranger lead. Tonight's jackpot is worth $2,800 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Rick Potter from Arlington will win $2,800. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam during the inning, Rick is going to take home $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, the Rangers come to bat here in our Sonic Slam inning. It'll be Hamilton, Moreland, and Andrews. And the third pitcher on the hill tonight for the Padres. Odrisamer Despaigne, right-hander who originally was scheduled to start this game. And Matt Murphy and the Padres realigned the starting rotation, so he is being skipped this time through. Despaigne working to Hamilton. And Josh hits one off the end of the bat and into center field by the dive of Will Middlebrooks. A cue shot had a little English on it. Got by the third baseman. One on, nobody out. And Mitch Moreland now will come up. Despaigne is a 28-year-old, born in Havana, Cuba. And Moreland drives one deep to right, but he pulled the trigger just a shade early. Rick Potter in Arlington, sitting there watching the game, fell off his seat.
Yeah, you could.
Darn it.
You could see the contact.
Mitch 0 for 2 tonight. He has grounded out and lined to center field. That pitch just a bit low. It is 1-1. Despaigne, a varied arsenal of pitches. A fastball and a changeup, curveball, cutter, and a slow curve. At least that's what folks at Fangraphs have come up with. And there is a slow curve
floated in there. I think Mitch swung before that got to the dirt.
Yeah. 68 mile an hour. That wouldn't even get a speeding ticket out here on I-30. 1-2 pitch, and Moreland fouls it into the glove of Norris. There is a strikeout. One away. Elvis Andrews coming up.
Well, the one pitch to hit was the fastball in that he hit but pulled foul. Then he had to see the slow curveball, and then I guess a changeup, something that was moving severely from left to right away from Mitch.
So Despaigne now working to Elvis, who is 1 for 2. Despaigne pitched for 8 years in the Cuban big leagues, the Serie Nacional, before coming to the Padres. Pitched for the Havana Industriales. Signed prior to last year. Made his way up from San Antonio, Double-A, to El Paso, Triple-A, and then the Padres for 16 games last season. Elvis takes a strike. It's 0-2. Rangers 4 runs on 5 hits tonight. Padres 1 run on 4 hits. It's kind of a sweeping curveball and was outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Elvis a double in the 4th inning. Called out on strikes in the 2nd. And he lines one softly to center. Melvin Upton there to make the grab. That's out number 2. Hamilton going back to first. Next will be Rougned Odor. Well, I wouldn't think, I don't know about you, Tom, but I wouldn't think Josh Hamilton would be in the business of trying to steal a base even in this part of the ball. He's not coming back from the hamstring, would you?
Not with the hamstring, and then, you know, a little bit of a tightness in his groin area. You wouldn't think he would be.
Odor, 1 out of 2 with a triple. Use that slow breaking ball in for strike 1. Rubnett tripled and scored in the 3rd inning. Last time up, fly to center. One ball and 1 strike. Norris flashing those signs out. Despaigne gets one. And misses inside. It's 2 balls and a strike now. Despaigne last year with the Padres, 4-7 with a 336. Averaged about 6 innings per start. That ball's ripped foul by Odor. 2-2. For Despaigne, this is his 18th game overall, his 4th, make that his 5th relief appearance. Slow tapper down the 3rd baseline. Despaigne off balance throw, not in time.
A great try by Despaigne. Did a superb play, and he would have gotten a lot of runners. Rubnett, though, runs well enough to just barely beat that out at first base. Didn't look when he tapped that down the 3rd baseline like the pitcher would even have a throw, but he turned it into a close play.
That's a pretty athletic move.
It sure was.
And that play is going to be close enough that the Padres are going to take a chance and challenge it. We'll see one of the views here, and they're probably going to lose their challenge.
I don't think they're going to win that one.
No. So the
Rubnett with a little help for the first base umpire.
Boy, that is a great play by Despaigne, though. That is really something. So the headset's on. Field and Colbreth, the crew chief and 3rd base umpire, and Paul Schreiber, the 1st base umpire, who made that call. With the headsets, listening to the folks at Replay Command Center in New York. And the crowd here just got to look at the replay as shown on the big board. Chuck Morgan, director of in-park entertainment, always popping that replay up in a hurry.
Didn't look like it reached the back of the glove in time.
So again, the call on the field is safe, and it has to be clear and convincing evidence that the call is wrong to overturn it. And Padres at first blush would appear to not have the evidence on their side. We'll get the call here in just a second. Safe is the call. So the Rangers have runners at 1st and 2nd with 2 outs. The Padres challenge goes for naught. 2 on, 2 out for Carlos Corporán. That call was confirmed, meaning there was clear and convincing evidence the call was correct, according to the folks in New York. Corporán 0 for 2, a ground out and a fly ball to center, and he takes ball 1. An area that the Rangers would certainly like to improve upon at home, especially hitting with runners in scoring position. And Jeff Bannister was acknowledging that, yeah, it has been a problem, and no, there's not really any drill that you can do to get guys to come through with runners in scoring position. He said it just has to happen, but we have to have better at-bats, meaning working the count a little bit better, realizing what the situation is, and being a little more selective in what you wail away at with runners in scoring position. And this would be an opportunity to improve an average that has been 161 over the last 19 ball games. 2 balls and a strike now to Corporán. Matter of fact, on Wednesday night here, the team went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Yeah, you know, you would think that you'd have to sneak in a hit somewhere, a couple of hits somewhere, and that number of at bats when you're at home, but it's just the way things had been going. The 2-1 pitch. Popped him up. Norris off of the mask behind home plate. And that will do it. Well, the Rangers get a couple of runners aboard, 2 hits, but they strand 2. We have finished 6. It remains the Rangers 4 and the Padres 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Four-game summary. Rangers have the lead, and it's been thanks to the big man. Prince Fielder, his 14th home run of the year in the 4th inning. And that brought up Adrian Beltre. His 7th home run of the year immediately following Prince Fielder. Also in the 4th inning. And then Melvin Upton Jr. with his 2nd round tripper of the year into the left field seats. That made it a 4-1 game, and that's where we stand now as we head to the top of the 7th inning with a new pitcher on the hill for the Rangers. Sam Freeman has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over for Keone Kela.
Well, every time he comes in, Buzz, it seems like his ERA is lower. I think it was 4.20 the last time he came in. It's 4.08, and hopefully the next time he comes in after this, it'll be down in the 3s. Steady work.
Sam has been very solid coming out of that bullpen of late. He has not been scored upon since he gave up a run here against Oakland on the 25th of June. That was 7 appearances ago. Make that 8 appearances ago. He has been rock solid coming out, and whether it be facing a left-hander or a series of left-handers. Red Wallace will lead things off against Freeman. And he lines one over Mitch's head down the first baseline. Chu over to cut it off, and before Wallace can think about going to second, Chu gets the ball back in. Now, Brett Wallace with his first hit of the night, it'll cost him a bat, as that bat got sawed off on this hit. Well, the 5th hit of the night for the Padres, and that's going to be the only hitter that Sam Freeman is asked to face. Jeff Bannister out there to take the ball, and Spencer Patton, right-hander, will be coming in to face Middlebrooks and Barmas and Melvin Upton Jr. So 1 on, nobody out. Rangers leading 4-2. Spencer Patton on his way in, and we will take a timeout. We're back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. But on one night, they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game on Tuesday, July 14th. It's on Fox from Cincinnati. Well, Spencer Patton has come into the game. Spencer appearing in his 9th ball game. Last time we saw Spencer was 3 nights ago against the Diamondbacks. And he deals a strike to Will Middlebrooks. Middlebrooks has flied to center and popped out into foul territory. 0 for 2 tonight, a .218 average. Brett Wallace, the runner at first base. 1 ball and 1 strike. This is Patton's 7th appearance since coming back to the club. He was in AAA for the better part of 6 weeks, starting the 9th of May, and he's called back up the 26th of June.
When Middlebrooks first got to the big leagues with the Red Sox, he really played well. He had 267 at bats, hit .288, 15 homers and 54 RBIs. Since that time, the highest he's hit was .227, and last year he hit .191.
Yeah, that's been part of the problem right there, is the contact has not been consistent for him.
Well, last year he hit .191 with 2 home runs and had 215 at bats.
Patton able to dispatch Middlebrooks with a strikeout. 1 gone. Clint Barmas now will come up.
Yep, slider, and then high heat.
Barmas, a single in the 3rd, a pop out in the 5th inning. That is out of play to the right. 0-1. The more we get to look at Spencer Patton, you can kind of see why Patton put up such great save numbers at AAA the last couple of years. He has kind of a short arm motion. The ball looks like it would explode onto the hitter. Good slider. And the more he throws, the more we understand that his command is very good also. Not the kind of guy at first blush that would make you think, hey, this guy's lights out. But he gets the job done. And there's another guy who gets the job done too, Tanner Shepard, trying to work himself back into his form of a couple of years ago. An 8th inning setup man. Popped up, shallow right field. Chu jogging in. 2 gone. Barmas out, now Melvin Upton Jr. Upton 2 for 2 tonight. Had that home run accounting for the only San Diego run last time up. That was the 6th inning. Also had a bunt base hit in the 3rd. Swing and a miss. The other thing I like about Spencer Patton too, numbers wise, he's come into the ball game now with 6 inherited runners. None of them have scored. The guy that you can bring in situations like this, that is invaluable. Elvis, a dive, it's off the tip of his glove out into center field. Stopping at second is Wallace. A base hit for Upton, who's now 3 for 3.
Yeah, a well hit ball. Looked like Elvis might have had a chance to catch that ball. Would have been a very nice play. Hard hit smash, took a bounce off his glove. Upton has a home run, hard hit single, and a bunt single for the game.
We mentioned
just off the end.
Upton having great numbers in this ballpark, particularly against the Rangers. He would hit .331 coming into play here tonight. So he is up that by going 3 for 3. So 2 on with 2 out. Top of the order once again. That means Derek Norris. And you got to be careful here because Derek Norris is representing the tying run. And he has the ability to hit one out of the ballpark if you're not careful. Ranger fans remember all too well the Derek Norris show a couple times in this ballpark with the A's. Oh, and 1 the count to him. At the knees, 0-2. Norris in this ballpark, a .328 hitter. 20 for 61. Tonight, 0 for 3. Got him swinging. Patton gives up a hit, but gets a couple of punch outs, and he strands the runner he inherits. So we will take the stretch here at Globe Life Park. 4-1 Rangers. And now let's listen to Chuck Morgan as he introduces God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise as we remember the servicemen and women who are serving our country at home and around the world. The Texas Rangers invite everyone in Globe Life Park to join in singing God Bless America.
The free award-winning Millions are playing. Award-winning game Millions are playing. Download an MLB.com Home Run Derby free on the App Store and Google Play. Bottom of the 7th inning, 4-1. Rangers on top. They will come to bat with the top of the order. The liner to Shields is 0 for 1 tonight. He has flied out in the only official at bat. He's also walked twice and played havoc with whoever has been on the mound for the San Diego Padres. Or Despagne to the plate. And the line was showing bunt, takes ball 1. 264 the average for the Ranger leadoff man. Rangers 13-11 with the Shields in that leadoff spot. Two and one. Delino with the stolen base tonight, his 14th of the year. Like I said, 13-11. Their club's 13-10 with him as the leadoff hitter. And ahead in the count to Despaigne, 3 balls and a strike. Chopper to third, and Middlebrooks able to handle that. One gone. Next will be Shin-Soo Choo.
Right fielder, Shin-Soo Choo.
Before Choo steps in, let's send it over to Rick Renner for a Mazda game break. All right, Rick. Rangers trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. Shin-Soo Choo takes a strike on the outside corner. Choo 0 for 2, walked his last time up. Other than that, has struck out and fly to center field. Batting average now at .228 for Choo. 0-2. Choo just 3 out of 17 now on the homestand. This the final 3-game series of this 8-game homestand for the Rangers prior to the All-Star break. Angels came in and swept 3. The Diamondbacks won the 2 that they played, and the Rangers trying to get back on the winning side of things here at home. An 8-game home losing streak, the second longest in club history.
Man, Despaigne doesn't throw anything straight, does he?
No.
He got a little of this and a little of that.
And he's got about a 30-mile-an-hour variance between his slow pitches and his fastball. Plus, he can't get his hat on straight.
No. The Fernando Rodney look.
Maybe that's like Rodney, where the hat's straight, but the head's crooked.
Maybe.
Yeah. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Despaigne to the wind. And the pitch is looped out behind second. Barr missed the shortstop there to make the grab. That is out number 2. And Prince Fielder will get his 4th trip to the plate. There's a young Ranger fan. Uh-oh. That's a bad call. Little cotton candy will probably soothe that cough. Prince, a couple of runs driven in, 53 of them now this year. His 14th home run, leading off the 4th inning. Also a sacrifice fly or pop-up, whichever way you want to look at it. And a fly ball to left. Average at .346. Still second in the league. Miguel Cabrera on the disabled list and still leading at .350. Won't be too long before Cabrera drops out of the listings for the leadership. He won't have enough at bats to continue that his whole time on the disabled list. They're looking at about a 6 or 7 week stay for him on the DL. 2-0 pitch.
Ooh, looked like he was on that changeup.
I think he saw it pretty well. Just didn't make contact.
That had home run location to it. Home run swing, just not quite home run contact.
Well, back in May when he was on his hot streak, every changeup that was thrown in that part of the strike zone
was gone.
Yeah. There was just no doubt about it. That's out of play to the left. He had 9 home runs in about I think a total of 30 pitches or something like that. Two balls, two strikes now. Despaigne back to him. We'll take you back to the fourth inning. Prince Fielder leading off against Ian Kennedy. That wasn't a changeup. It was a fastball, but it was in the proper spot for Prince to turn on it. Well, Fielder now tied with Mitch Moreland for the team leadership with 14 home runs. And another foul back off the end of the bat. Talk about how consistent Prince has been. I guess the one thing that he hasn't been as consistent as he would expect himself to be is in the home run production. But Tom, is that something you can count on to be consistent?
Well, he was always consistent throughout his career, but he's on pace to hit 25 maybe, and if he gets hot in the second half, he could hit 30. And if he hits 30, knocks in 100, we'll take it.
Sure will. Sure will. 3 up, 3 down. We finished 7 at Globe Life Park. Rangers 4 and the Padres 1.
To give it to Randy and Cindy. They came all the way in from Mississippi, big-time Ranger fans with plenty of their closest friends and family. This is an engagement party, Randy?
That's right. It's an engagement party. It's been a long 3-year engagement, and I'm ready to do this thing.
Right, because you've been here. You've been in the Army, still in the Army, been over in Afghanistan, right?
That's right. 19 years for the Army.
All right, there we go. All right, well, congratulations. Here's the back. Progressive fan of the game. Anything else you'd like to say, buddy?
Cindy, will you marry me?
I thought you already got engaged.
I want to get married right now.
You want to get married now? Okay. All right, well, go ahead. All right, here we go.
Perform the ceremony, Jim. That's one thing. That's something Noxie's never done. He's never married anybody.
No, not that we know of.
I mean, he got married himself, but he's never performed the ceremony.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, everybody else is doing it.
Do we have a minister in the crowd? Yo, you do. Come on over here, buddy. You're getting married tonight, okay? All right, we'll let you know how it goes. All right, appreciate it.
And Noxie will get that arranged for you real quick. And he'll send you off with a good A, mate. Tanner Shepard's on now to take over for the Rangers here in the 8th inning, facing Yonder Alonso. Tanner, in his 29th ball game, a 3-0 record. Here's another guy whose ERA is steadily dropping. He is really throwing the ball well. We'll go back to the Dodgers series out in L.A. as Leonis Martin taking over in center. Tanner's had 9 appearances now. He's been unscored upon in those 9. And Alonso slices one out of play back into the seats right over the tarpaulin. Still 1-2. Tanner trying to get himself back to where he was a couple of years ago, and he was one of the premier late inning setup men in the American League, if not all of baseball. Saw a lot of that when he was working the 8th inning. 97, sometimes 98. One-two pitch. A little bit low. Back to 2013 for Shepard. 76 appearances that year. Tanner was 6-2 with a 1.88 ERA. Went 76 and 2/3 innings and allowed a total of 58 hits. Pretty much dominant in that part of the ball game. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Alonso. Alonso tonight has walked, grounded into a double play, and flied out. 0 for 2. 293 hitter. And ball 4. He'll take the leadoff walk. Pretty good at bat by Alonso. A 9-pitch at bat allows him to get to first. And Matt Kemp will be coming up. Well, folks, it's time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Just use hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. All this brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Matt Kemp, an infield single his last time up there. Shepard starts him off with a breaking ball that he leaves high for ball 1. '28-year-old right-hander Tanner Shepard comes set. 1 ball and 1 strike. The hits are even at 6 tonight. Rangers have used a couple of solo home runs to pad their total. The only run for the Padres came on a Melvin Upton Jr. home run, solo blast. Good breaking ball there, and Kemp now down on the count, 0-2, or 1-2, excuse me. Shepard's leaning in for the sign. Corcoran. That ball's hit well to left field. Hamilton is going back. It is off the wall. Into third goes Alonso. To second is Matt Kemp, and he came within a couple of feet of driving the ball out of here. But the Padres have runners at second and third and nobody out here in the 8th inning.
It looked like he got a hanger and had a little top spin on that ball. Hit off the wall. Let's take a look, see if it was. Yeah, that's the old hanging curveball. You couldn't hang one in a worse spot. Never got it down where Tanner wanted it. Fortunately, Kemp was just a little bit out in front of it. Got on top of it just enough to where it didn't carry out of the ballpark. But second and third and nobody out. Still have a major jam to try to pitch your way out of.
Yeah, that you do. And facing Justin Upton is no day at the beach. Strike 1. Upton has popped out twice and struck out tonight. 0 for 3. The lone San Diego Padre representative in the All-Star team. That pitch catches the inside corner. 0-2. And Tanner's given himself some work to do. Lead-off walk followed by a Matt Kemp double. Now the 0-2 pitch to Upton. Upton and Sheppers have faced off one other time, and Sheppers got him on strikes. Could use that right here with nobody out and a couple on. The 1-2 pitch. That ball is hit high in the air to left field. Hamilton is going back. He has room in front of the track. He makes the catch. Tagging at third is Alonso. The throw comes into third as Alonso scores. A long sacrifice fly by Justin Upton. That makes it a 4-2 Ranger lead.
It looks like that was a curveball. Probably not hanging quite as much as the one that Kemp hit, but hanging almost enough for Upton to hit it out of here. Well, it's pretty hanging almost the same way. He was just a little bit out in front of it and a little bit underneath it. Hit it almost to the warning track.
So a 2-run ball game now, and Jed Jerko at the plate representing the tying run here in the 8th inning. Jerko 0 for 2 with a walk. 1-0. .227 average for Jerko. He has been called out on strikes and flied out tonight. Walk came back in the second. 2 balls, no strikes. Tanner having a little trouble now spotting his fastball up. Hanging breaking balls you can live with because you don't have to throw those, but if you can't spot your fastball, that's a problem.
Yep.
Odor sneaking in behind Matt Kemp. And bluff throw got him diving back. Ranger infield swung around to the left, so Odor not very far away from second base in his normal positioning in this shift. Now the 2-0 pitch.
Just missed it.
I think Jerko is looking fastball.
I think so. That might tie the record this year for biggest distance between bat and ball. Might have broken it too, because I have no idea who it tied.
The first guy that comes to mind on something like that is Chris Carter, the Astros.
Yeah,
he can miss by a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, he can hit the next pitch in a mile and a half.
Yeah, that's for sure. We've seen both of those things happen.
Sure have. Sheppers with a 2-2 now. Throw down to second. Kemp is trying for third, and the ball is thrown into the dugout, and Kemp will be allowed to score.
Wow.
Kemp, I guess that was a planned play in his mind anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Buzz. I think he got trapped off second and knew he couldn't get back, and he's got good base running instincts. He doesn't run like he used to, but he's got good instincts, and I think he just realized how far off he was right now. He knew he was dead, and he wasted no time. But if Odor delivers a good throw to Beltre, he's out pretty easily. And he rushed his throw and might have hit the runner with a throw.
So it's now a 4-3 game, and the next pitch to Jerko is outside for ball 4. Now the tying run is aboard with just 1 out. That play on Kemp gives him a stolen base, and he scores on the throwing error by Rougned Odor.
Yeah, that was not a good walk of Jerko right there. He was ahead in the count. He made him look bad on a curveball. That's the guy you want to get right there.
Mike Maddox out to slow things down, allow the bullpen to begin to heat up. Sean Tollison, the Ranger closer, up and loosening in a hurry in right center field.
Yeah, the jam in the 8th inning could very well be the jam that determines the outcome of the game. So if you can get your closer in there to get out of that jam, it might be exactly what you need to win the ball game.
Yep. So 1 on, 1 out. A couple of runs across here in the 8th inning. And Brett Wallace, the designated hitter, who is 1 for 3, steps to the plate. And Wallace hits a fly ball to center field. Leonis Martin back right at the edge of the warning track to haul that in. And his strong throw comes into second. That keeps Jerko at first.
The fans noticed that too.
Yep. Well, Wallace a long out. There are 2 gone.
Well, Wallace got some pretty good wood on that low fastball. He lofted it dangerously close, but only to the warning track.
Now we're going to have a pinch hitter for Will Middlebrooks. It'll be Yangervis Solarte. A couple of years ago, Solarte was in camp with the Rangers. Spent some time with the Yankees the last couple of years also, and now over here with the Padres. So Solarte, the switch hitter, up from the left side against Tanner Shepard. Solarte this year a .248 average, 4 home runs, and 30 driven in. Shepard's first pitch to him. Ball 1. And Solarte coming off the bench this year, 4 for 16. As a left-handed hitter, he is 3 for 14 in pinch hitting roles. Check that, he's 2 for 9. And that's outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Solarte ahead of the count, wheeling that bat back and forth, and he pops it up just behind the bag at second. Elvis there to make the catch, and that'll do it. Well, the Padres make it interesting. They get a couple of runs on 1 hit, a couple of walks, and an error. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's now the Rangers 4 and the Padres 3.
In Arlington with the Rangers still on top of the Padres, and tomorrow is game 2 of the 3-game series between these two teams, the final of the unofficial first half of the season. And before things get going on the diamond, we will have the Hall of Fame ceremony for the 2015 inductions. Juan Gonzalez and Mr. Jeff Russell. We'll have an hour of coverage leading up to the game. 7 o'clock here on Fox Sports Southwest, followed by the game at 8. Game 2 of this 3-game series. Guys, thanks to the folks at AT&T Uverse.
All right, Emily. Adrian Beltre starting things off for the Rangers here in the 8th. He's facing the 31-year-old right-hander Sean Kelly. And Kelly missing low. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. 29 appearances now for the right-hander. 1-2 record, a .348 earned run average, and the league hitting .252 against him. Kelly, originally with Seattle, came up in 2009, and Beltre laces one to right center, but over is Upton. And he cuts that off before it gets to the pass for out number 1.
Well, Adrian hit a home run in the 4th inning, and since that time he's lined out sharply to left and now lined out sharply to right center field. So making some solid contact tonight.
Well, here's Josh Hamilton, who is 1 for 3 tonight. Hamilton has had great success against Kelly in the past. 3 for 6 with 2 doubles and a walk. And Yangervis Solarte is stayed in the ball game. You remember he pinch hit for Will Middlebrooks, and Solarte takes over at third. 1 ball and 1 strike. Rangers 4 runs on 6 hits tonight. The Padres 3 runs on 7 hits. Boy, Josh Wright on that pitch from Kelly. 1-2. Hamilton, as you saw, the average at .273 for him. And the chopper foul. And the Padres in a distinct overshift. 3 players on that right side of the diamond. Solarte all by his lonesome, and he's playing shortstop. 2-2. Kelly was up and down with the Mariners until 2012. In 2013, he went over to the Yankees. Worked a lot out of the Yankee bullpen in 2013 and 14, a total of 116 games in those 2 years. Three-two pitch. Line, Solarte diving to his left and picks it off. For a third baseman playing shortstop, that's a pretty good play.
It was. Only 1 guy on the left side of the infield, and that line smash found his glove. The tip of his glove. Needed the dive and the extended arm to just barely get that ball on the end of his glove.
He had a good idea. That ball doesn't take very long to get out there. Not when it's hit like that. Mitch Moreland takes strike 1. Moreland 0 for 3. A ball and a strike. Mitch, a strikeout his last time up. That was the 6th inning. He also lined sharply to center and grounded to short. In at the knees, 1-2. Elvis Andrus hoping to get a shot at Sean Kelly here in the 8th inning. And Mitch wraps one foul, pulled into the seats. Still 1-2. Check and make sure everybody's okay down there. Moreland gone, and the Rangers gone after a couple of pretty hard hit balls in the 8th. It's a 1-2-3 frame for Sean Kelly. We're going to the 9th inning. It's Sean Tolleson time. Rangers leading the Padres 4-3. Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. Now the top of the 9th inning. Rangers trying to protect that one-run lead. It's 4-3 Texas. And Sean Tolleson coming into the ball game. The Ranger closer, Tolleson, with 12 consecutive saves under his belt. And that goes back to the 24th of May. Dealing to the pinch hitter, Will Venable. The numbers for Tolleson. This is 36th game overall, 2-1. 231 opponent's batting average for the year. Venable a little tardy with that swing on the fastball. 0-2. Venable 255 average overall. 6 home runs, 22 driven in. Facing Sean Tolleson, who is on a great roll, not only the 12 for 12 in saves, but he's posted a 1.14 ERA in his last 23 ball games. And Venable pops it up. Beltre right at the railing. The ball coming back to him. And Adrian over the railing and down. Hopefully didn't land on his head.
Boy, it sure looked like he landed on his side of his head or his shoulders. Almost a smile. Hopefully he's okay. Says he is.
Now, fortunately, he was able to get over there and find out where the railing was, and he didn't get. He got in between the brick counter over there.
Oh boy, he hit the chair pretty good.
Yeah.
Though. He tucked his head anyway and kind of did a somersault.
Man,
might be sore tomorrow after that.
0-2, and that's liced foul. Boy, looks even worse in slow motion. Another 0-2 pitch coming from Tolleson. Now 1-2. That 23-game stint we were talking about for Sean, he just allowed just 3 runs over 23 2/3 innings. in those 23 games. Now the 1-2. Chopper slowly hit up the middle. Odor charging. It's off his glove. And ricochets out in a shallow left center. And Venable is aboard. Venable's got pretty good speed. I don't even think if Odor had come up with that cleanly. Well, it would have been a bang-bang play. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, from where he was playing with a shift on out in right field, this is going to be a very difficult play. And you play out there, you can take some hits away on some hard hit balls. But here's the other side of it. On a slowly hit ball to your right, you're going to have a very difficult time making that play.
And that is ruled a base hit for the pinch hitter Venable. The 1 on, nobody out. The tying run is on first. And now Melvin Upton Jr., who laid a bunt down in the 3rd inning in a sacrifice situation and beat it out for a base hit. Also in a sacrifice situation here, and he bunts it toward 3rd. Beltre's play will be to first. Moreland taking the throw for the sacrifice, goes 5-3. Venable into scoring position with 1 out, and the top of the order coming out.
And managers have different philosophies on playing for a tie on the road. I think one thing that plays into it right here is the Rangers have used their late inning bullpen guys right now. They've used setup men and now the closer. So even though you may be playing for a tie on the road, you feel like you have at least an even chance because you've got your best late inning pitchers available and the other team doesn't.
And Derek Norris, who has been a pain in the side of the Rangers over the years, especially here, takes a breaking ball in for strike 1. Norris tonight 0 for 4. A couple of strikeouts, a couple of pop-outs. Sean Tollison facing him. Norris 1 for 4 in previous matchups against Tollison. Now time called. See the Rangers shifting around to the left. Again with Odor maybe 3 or 4 steps toward first base from the bag at second. But very decidedly up the middle. Now Tollison ready, the 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. The one hit that Norris has against Sean Tollison, a home run. Also has a walk against the Ranger right-hander. Up here with a tying run at second and 1 out in the 9th inning. Tied him up with a good high fastball. 1-2.
Norris is a dangerous hitter. He's a little bit prone to the strikeout. He struck out 78 times this year.
Tollison peering in. Our Fox tracker showing you the spread on the first 3 pitches of this at bat. Now Carlos Corcoran telling Sean Tollison, hey, we're going to recycle those. Go back through it one more time. Venable at second, getting his lead. A 4-3 Ranger lead here in the 9th inning. Call, strike 3. Yes, might have had a little cutting action to bring it in the front door, and Norris caught window shopping. 2 gone.
Well, 3 times Norris has gone down on strikes tonight. And there's strike 3 in this at bat. Norris, I guess, thought that ball was a little bit inside, but caught most of the plate, it looked like.
I think that's one of those times where Tollison had not shown him that pitch in that location, maybe ever.
Yeah, just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, he saw it there where it made a difference. So 2 outs. Yonder Alonso, who has drawn 2 walks and is 0 for 2 officially up there. Off speed and just missed. 1 ball, no strikes. Alonso at 293 with the average. He has not faced Sean Tollison in a regular season matchup. Tying run at second base. Tollison with the 1-0. Now 2-0. Might be a spot here where, even though you have a big name hitter in Matt Kemp in the on-deck circle, he's a right-handed hitter. John Tollison may be a little bit careful with Alonso after falling behind 2-0. Off speed, and that missed. 3 balls and no strikes. Corcoran peering into the Ranger dugout, see what they might have in mind. 3 balls, no strikes. First base is open. Alonso, of course, the left-handed hitter. Kemp, the right-hander, waiting in the on-deck circle. And ball 4. Well, Alonso draws his 3rd consecutive walk. Now 2 runners on and 2 out. Matt Kemp coming up. And Mike Maddox headed out to the mound. An infield single, a sacrifice bunt by Melvin Upton Jr. A big strikeout of Derek Norris. And then a walk to Yonder Alonso. Runners at first and second. The tying and go-ahead runs are aboard. And Matt Kemp, who has singled and doubled in his last 2 trips, is the hitter. And this setting up, reminding Tollison and Corcoran of what they went over in the scouting reports and how they were going to pitch to him, and also reminding each other what he has done in this game so far, whether that changes what they feel they need to do to him or whether it fortifies him. We'll see what they come up with. You know, sometimes you get into a game and you might feel like you have a good scouting report, and a guy might look completely different at the plate and make you change your approach to him.
Andrew Cashner is going to run at first base, boys.
Cashner, a starting pitcher, and he's being employed here as a pinch runner. He's carrying the go-ahead run for the Padres. Well, the matchup is set. Kemp against Tollison. A strike. 0-1.
Looked like the exact same pitch that Norris took for strike 3.
Yep. Kemp 2 for 4 tonight. That average at 245. He is tied for second on the Padre Ball Club with 45 RBI. We got Venable at second, Cashner at first. John Tollison, the Baylor X out of Allen, Texas, out there. He is ready. The 0-1 is coming. One ball and 1 strike. Well, he went inside with a called strike. Outside, didn't miss by much. Well, he's got Kemp thinking to himself. Both of them fastballs, and he knows that Tollison has a good curveball and a changeup. He has not seen either one of those yet. Sean staring in for the sign, picks out one, and he is ready. Good fastball up, foul back. It's 1-2.
Kemp knows he had a fastball to hit right there, so he didn't hit it. See him walking toward first base thinking about it.
Well, the crowd out here at Globe Life Park on their feet. They're trying to help Sean Tollison and the Rangers snap their 5-game losing streak. 1-2 pitch. Popped up down the right field line. Long run over for Chu. And the ball is back into the seats. Carlos Corcoran out there to mention something to John Tolleson. A lot of times a catcher will hear a hitter say something after a swing and want to relay back to the pitcher and say, hey, that guy thought he just missed that, or he say to himself, I can't hit that no matter what. And the pitcher needs to know that. 33,033 on their feet. 1-2 pitch. Got him swinging. John Tolleson closes out a Ranger win with a strikeout of Matt Kemp, and that turns into a winner for the Rangers. Prince fielder Adrian Beltre going yard with solo home runs. They back up John Tolleson, Wandy Rodriguez, Keone Kela, and company here tonight. Rangers snapped their 8-game home losing streak. They snapped their 5-game losing streak overall. And they extend the Padres losing streak to 6 consecutive ball games with a 4-3 win. The high fives on the way in for a very happy group of Rangers.
He just elevated it a little bit. He fouled one off. It was a little bit lower near the middle of the plate. And to get him, he just raised it a little bit, kept it a little bit more away from him. And Kemp has to go back to the dugout.
No, the Rangers getting the W here at home. They improved their record now to 42-44. And our TXU Energy Power Player of the game is Prince Fielder. A couple of RBI tonight and a home run well into the upper reaches of home run porch in right field. His 14th of the year. He was 1 for 3. A sacrifice fly and that solo home run. He's our TXU Energy Power Player of the game. And let's head down to the field. Emily Jones has Prince Fielder standing by.
Thank you very much. Well, Prince, this is a little more like it. Nice to get off the schneid tonight.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been struggling here, and very good to get a win, especially at home.
The way that you guys did it, had tons of opportunities in the games previous. This one, you really did make the most of the very few that you had.
Yeah, for the most part. So, I mean, that's all it takes. I mean, it's easier said than done, but when you play just crisp baseball all around, it usually works out in your favor.
Getting warmed up for the home run derby with one tonight?
Yeah, hopefully.
That's the plan. Wandy Rodriguez has been so frustrated not pitching well here at home.
Right.
Nice to see him come out and put together a solid outing.
Yeah, he did excellent. I mean, kept us in the game, only gave up 1 run, so it really helped us out with this win tonight.
You and Adrian Beltre going back-to-back, that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, that's always good. It's always good when the captain goes back-to-back with him.
Yeah, is he a clown in the dugout at all for that tumble he took over the wall? Or?
No.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Did you check on him?
Yeah, he's good.
All right, Prince, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Guys, we'll send it back up to you.
All right, Em, thank you. Well, it's nice to see smiles after a ball game for the Rangers.
That's for sure.
4-3, the final here tonight. We'll be back to Globe Life Park to wrap things up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.